Uh, Welcome back, students, and we'll proceed with the fourth session on multi-threading. So here I'll be covering the thread control mechanism with respect to the threads. When you are creating multiple threads, so maybe three threads or four threads together, what you're supposed to do is you should be able to control the threads, whether thread should be in a sleep position or you're making a thread to awake from the sleep position, and you can check whether thread is in sleep mode and all that. So you can do so by using a set of built-in functions that are defined with respect to the thread class. A couple of library functions defined for doing this activity will be like this. The one is alive, wait, notify, and notify all, and join. So these are the couple of methods that we'll be using in order to control the threads. This will be more useful only when you are dealing with the multiple threads, like three threads or four or five threads together. So you should be able to define which thread should execute, and which thread should be in a sleep mode, and how can you make a particular thread awake, and all those activities can be performed using these set of library functions. So with respect to the demonstration of this, I'll be using the same example of creating the three threads that I used in the previous session uh, about the creating multiple threads. The same example I will be utilizing in order to demonstrate this thread controlling mechanism. And we'll be demonstrating this with the programming example, how these library functions are used, is alive, then notify, notify all, join, and all that. So which is very, very important when you are dealing with multiple threads, which activity is to be performed at a given point of time. So if you are giving a preference for one of the thread, you can highlight and you can make other threads to sleep. So this is what the main intention of controlling the threads. So we should have a well-defined mechanism for controlling the threads. So in Java, it is well-defined, and we can make use of those library functions. So let us go with these things one by one. First, I'll be describing about the library functions and what is the role of those library functions, followed by we'll be discussing about the program, and I'll try to illustrate. And after that, in the next session, we'll be discussing about thread priorities and controlling thread mechanism and thread priorities together. What I will do, I will try to write the program. So in the Eclipse, I'll be able to demonstrate this. Okay, let us, here we go. I will try to share the screen, and I will try to illustrate how threads can be controlled. Yeah. So thread controlling mechanism. So here, what we'll do is, in the thread control mechanism, we have, as I mentioned, there are a set of library functions associated with the thread control mechanism, mainly is alive and a join. So is alive is a library functions which is used to test whether my current thread of execution is, whether it is in a running state or whether it is in the sleep state. And is alive, it returns true if it is running, otherwise it returns false. Whereas the join method, it waits until the thread on which it is called terminates. For example, if I call T1.join, it will wait until a T1 completes. So in between, if T2 comes, it may give a chance for T2, but with respect to T1, it will make a T1 to wait till it completes. So that's what the whole idea of using the join function. So it mainly waits until the thread on which it is called terminates. And the syntax of isAlive method will be like this. IsAlive, it returns a true if a thread of execution on which it is called, if it is running, it returns true, otherwise it returns false. So it is a final method. You cannot change the content of this method. I mean to say, you cannot override this. Next, the join method, as I described, and also it throws the interrupted exception. I mean, if a thread is waiting for its completion, if any interruption occurs, interruption may be in the form of a higher priority thread comes, then it leads to interrupted exception. For example, if a T1 thread is waiting to complete its execution or to complete its tasks assigned to it, if any higher priority thread, say T2, and if it takes the ownership of the CPU for executing its instructions, so T1 is interrupted by T2 because T2 is a higher priority. So for such cases, the runtime environment which throws interrupted exception. Yeah. Next, we have a couple of three methods: wait, notify, and notify all. Totally what I mentioned. So isAlive, join, wait, notify, and notify all. What exactly this wait method do? First I'll read out, then I will elaborate what it is. Now, this wait method, it tells the calling thread to give up a monitor and go to sleep mode until some other thread enters the same monitor and calls notify or notify all. Which means that, assume that you have two threads called T1 and T2, and if a wait method is called on T1, and which means that the T1 is occupied the monitor, which means the resource. So monitor concept you already learned in the operating system. If a T1 holds the monitor, which means which is took the ownership of the CPU to complete its execution or a task, and if a wait is called on T1, T1 should give up the monitor to some other thread and enter T1 into the sleep mode. And T1 will be in the sleep mode until some other thread notifies it. If something else notify or notify all method called, till that T1 will be in a sleep mode. So that is nothing but a wait. So hope that content is clear. To take T1 and T2, assume that T1 is running right now. If you call wait on T1, and T1 should give a monitor to T1, and T1 should go into the sleep mode. Now T2 is running, and once the T2 completes, if it notifies, either notify or notify all method is called, then the T1 which was in sleep mode, it will come back to the active mode, which is a running state. If a T2 after its completion, either it makes a call to the notify or notify all method, then the T1 resumes and it can continue with the remaining part of the execution if it is applicable. And the next set of library function is notify, which is used to wake up a thread that is called wait on same object. Assume that a T1 is when a wait function is called on a T1, T1 entered into the sleep mode. How do you make a T1 as a running state or active state? So you can call a notify method on the same thread T1 so that it changes its state from sleep mode to the running mode or active mode. And the next method to be discussed is notify all, which is used to wakes up all the threads that call the wait. Take a scenario of 3 threads are running. If wait is called on T1, T2, and T3 together, by default main thread will be running. So if all the 3 threads are in a sleep mode, if you want to resume all the three threads together, and you can make a call to the function called notify all, which means all the 3 threads will become active and it will enter into the running state. Which is doesn't mean that all the 3 threads will be executed at a given point of time. No, it will be in the running state based on the scheduling algorithm. I mean, thread scheduling algorithm. It takes a CPU chance and it completes its task that is assigned to the respective threads. So, which is what mean by is alive, join, wait, notify, and notify all. So these are the 5 built-in functions which are used to control the threads in Java. So with respect to an examination point of view, how do you control the threads in Java programming? So you should be able to explain about all these 5 functions followed by the library function, I mean followed by illustrative program. How do you make use of these 5 library functions with respect to the real-time application or a simulation kind of application? Let us go to the programming example. So I'll be showing the programming example in the presentation slide itself. Then after that, by combining the thread priorities and controlling thread mechanism all together, I'm combining together and I'll be illustrating the programming example in the Eclipse. So again, we'll take a quick look back on concurrency in Java. As I told, when a single program gets started executing, and always it has a main thread of execution followed by, if you create a thread 1 will be created, then followed by thread 2 and a thread 3 starts. And when a run method is called on the respective threads, it will keep performing the tasks by using the context switch between all these threads, using a suitable thread schedulers, and each of the threads will get a chance for the execution of its instructions to complete the task, then followed by the main thread. So this example, which of the threads started first, then again it may terminate. It doesn't need to follow the ordering of it. So last one which is generated, it may complete first. It depends on the requirement and the application that you are building. So once you are done with the concurrency in the Java, once you take a recap on the concurrency in the Java, what we'll do is we'll take a detailed explanation on how you control the threads, thread controlling mechanism. So again, we are defining a class called demo thread, which implements a runnable interface, which means we are using the second technique of creating the thread again. So add 2 instance variables, name and a thread, and name is which is nothing but which is used for assigning a name for the thread, then followed by a thread is which is used to create a, which is used to have a reference to the thread variable, and to say a thread object, then define a constructor. Whatever the class you have, you define the class name as a constructor. So demo thread of string thread name, the name is equal to thread name, whatever the argument we have received, thread name from the main function, that will try to assign to the name. And here we need to create an object of the class, and in wherever the runnable interface is implemented, that you need to attach with the thread object, that is a this, followed by the name what we have received here. So you give a name as well as the specify the current object what it is. Then after that you assign to the variable called thread. So thread is a reference variable which refers to the thread. And after that we are printing new thread and the thread name we are printing. Whether it is in this particular example, I'm creating three threads: thread A, thread B, and a thread C. So here either A or B or new thread plus thread whatever it is there. So that is whether it is a T1 or a T2 or T3. So that label will be displayed here. And after that, you can make a thread to start by calling a function called start. In turn, it will call the run method. So coming to the run method, so what you are doing, we are assigning the job of printing the numbers from 5 to 1 for each of the threads that we are going to create. Take a for loop and I is equal to 5 is greater than 0 and I minus minus, and which is a child thread what we are creating here, and assign a value whatever it is there in the index variable that you try to child thread say 1 sorry 5 4 3 2, those values can be printed here, and make a thread to sleep for personally. Why we should make a thread to sleep for some time is in order to notice the flow of execution of the program, how exactly the values are printing at the console. In order to understand that, we can make a call to the sleep method, sleep of 1000. Otherwise, all the things will happen together and you will not come to know what happened inside and how we are getting this output. So it's a very big question now. So in order to understand that internal process, what you should do is you should make a thread to sleep for some time. So here we are mentioning the 1000 days, and always it is a must and it is compulsory when you are making the thread to sleep, or when you are calling a wait method on a thread, and always you must handle the interrupted exception. So it is a mandatory. So whatever the task you are writing, because you want to use a thread.sleep method. If that is the case, it should be a part of the try block, and always this sleep method and wait method always throws interrupted exception and catch that interrupted exception, and what is that exception received, you try to print the name of the thread, whatever it is there, whether it is A or B or C, which is you indicate it as a interrupt. Then followed by, and after that you can once you are done with this handling the exception, at the end you try to print name of the thread, then followed by exiting. Once the thread completes its job, it can print this message saying that exiting. That is A exiting, B exiting, C exiting, something like that. Let's move on. So coming to the main content, main class, we are defining a class called multi-thread implementation, and we are defining the main method here. Create an object of the demo thread, what you have created there. This is your demo thread class, and create three objects of that class, and this is A, B, and C. These are the names of the threads that you are going to create, and which in turn will be assigned to T1, T2, and T3. T1, T2, and T3 are the reference variables for the thread A, thread B, and the thread C respectively. Further, you try to test isAlive method. I want to test whether my thread A is running, and I want to test my thread whether B is running, and similarly for the C. So thread A is alive, T1 is the demo thread object T1 dot thread. What is this? This thread is an instance variable what you created. Dot is alive, whether the thread A is alive or not. For that, you can make use of this is alive method. Similarly, do it for the thread 2 T2, and again we can test whether T1 is still it is running. I mean, you can say, you can make it as a T3 dot thread dot is alive. Cool. Once you're done, once you tested whether these threads are alive or not, and you can observe the output here. New thread, and child thread 5, and you can test thread A is alive, true, true, true. Thread A, B, and C are running now. Now let's move on to the block where we illustrate a join and is alive method. And of course, join also, it waits until a thread upon which it is called completes. I repeat, join method is used to make a thread to wait on which the reference variable is called until it completes its task. Which means that T1.thread.join, unless the T1 completes its jobs assigned to it will not go to the sleep mode. I mean, it will be in a waiting mode. It will not terminate the thread. It will be in a waiting state. Similarly for the T2 and the T3. And of course, this join method, it makes the thread in the waiting state. Of course, it throws the interrupted exception. So handle that exception and try to print a message, main thread interrupted. And after that, you can test whether each of the threads of what we have used, T1, T2, and T3, and makes a call to the join method. Now you test whether these threads completes their jobs or not. So you can again make a call to the is alive method. Thread A is alive. T1 dot thread dot is alive. T1 is your thread variable name, and thread dot is alive. And similarly, you can do it for the T2 and T3. So, and of course, you can test it for the same, or you can change it for B or C. And again, at the end, once it completes its jobs, T1, T2, and T3, of course, it terminates. Once it terminates, of course, is alive method should return false. So coming to this, as 3 threads are running, so child thread 5, 5, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1. This ordering is not in our control. So once you make a thread for execution, none of these sequence are in our control. It is purely based on the load of the system and a scheduling algorithm used by the operating system for scheduling the threads. And of course, at the end, B is exiting and C is exiting, and still A is alive. So A is alive. Of course, once it completes, it gives the value false. And after that, once it completes the thread A, B, and C, and the main thread exits. So once the main thread exits, that completes the entire process. Next, we'll move on to the thread priorities in the next session. So quickly, I'll conclude this fourth session on controlling the threads. We have 5 methods to illustrate or to control the threads in Java: is alive, join, followed by wait, notify, and notify all. And also sleep method is available. So concurrency in Java, we can illustrate this because as we are controlling the threads here, and so creating the 3 different threads, and we are introducing a sleep method, and of course always it is mandatory to handle the interrupted exception. So make thread to sleep for 1000 days. So all this process for the weeks. So this is the way how you can control the threads, and you can make your system much more efficient and in order to define a proper operations. In the next session, we'll be discussing about the thread priorities. How do you assign? How do you make a specific thread to complete first, then followed by the other thread, and followed by the a third thread or a fourth thread or whatever, and by explicitly assigning the priority to the threads. And also you can read the priority of those threads. So of course, this is concept of priority. It is there in the each and every organization, and uh, but human nature to give the priority for some of the tasks and not to give the priority for other tasks. But similarly, we can do it for the threads as well. So this is what the content from the fourth session. It is very important with respect to examination point of view for 5 or 6 mark question. So they'll give the these library functions, and they'll ask you to explain, and you should be able to explain and how do you make use of it, that you should specify. Okay, this is the end of the fourth session. We'll continue the thread priorities in the fifth session. Thank you.